Have you ever wondered what it would be like to escape Alcatraz, the prison known as the Rock, also known as Unescapable, until 1960? Three men, Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers, Clarence and J.W., escaped Alcatraz. Today I'm going to be reading the first two chapters of Escape from Alcatraz by Eric Braun. So, let's begin. At the crack of dawn, cell block B in the Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary was silent and dark. Clarence Carnes, a longtime prisoner, lay on his bunk, already awake. He'd barely slept all night. Suddenly, the wake-up bell rang out, just as it did every morning, and the prisoners began to stir. They had 15 minutes to get out of bed, go to the bathroom, and get dressed. Some stayed in bed to grab an extra few minutes of sleep. After 15 minutes, a whistle pierced, and the prisoners walked out in front of their cells. It was time for the morning head count. Carnes was one of the first inmates in front of his cell. He stood eagerly at the bars and looked around. He listened as the guards walked down the aisle and counted prisoners one at a time. He had reason to believe that the count might be short this morning. His friends had planned a daring overnight escape from the escape-proof prison. He hoped they had made it. What Carnes heard next made his heart leap. One of the guards called for a recount. It was possible that the guard had simply made a mistake and needed to count again, but Carnes didn't think so. His friends were smart, and they had a good plan. They'd been working on their escape for months and had been painstaking about every last detail. Right now, Carnes imagined they were breathing fresh outside air. He suppressed a smile as Officer Lawrence Bartlett, the guard on duty, counted again. Officer Bartlett noticed that Prison John, J.W. Anglin, had not gotten up. He walked over, reached between the bars, and tapped the prisoner's pillow. But Anglin did not respond. Bartlett called Lieutenant Bill Long for a look. He told Long that Anglin was either dead or he had been replaced by a life-size dummy. Long poked Anglin's head. Still, Anglin just laid there. He poked harder and harder, and this time his fingers pushed right through. Startled, he swatted the head, and it rolled off the bunk to the floor. It was a dummy. Long jumped back. Long reached to the bars, yanked the blanket down, and saw a roll of blankets and clothes that Anglin had placed there to look like his body. He quickly went to the next cell, that of Clarence Anglin, John's brother, and pulled off his blanket. Clarence's bed was also filled with the blankets and a fake head. There was one more prisoner missing from the head count, Frank Morris. Long dashed over to Morris's cell and pulled the covers off his dummy head and blankets. He was gone too! A call was made to acting warden Arthur Dollison. He lived in a duplex on the island with his family. When the phone rang at his home, Dollison felt a chill of dread go right through him. It could not be good news to get a phone call right after the morning count. As he and more officers rushed to the cell block, an escape alarm blared through the prison, out the prison and all across the island, indoors and out. Adding to the commotion, another prisoner was calling out to the guards from his cell. "I planned the entire escape," Alan West cried out. In his hand, he held what looked like a velvet cover, only it was made of cardboard. Meanwhile, officers climbed up on the top of cell block B, which is constructed of prison cells stacked 3 high. Looking up, they saw a roof vent that had its bars removed. The prisoners had gone through there. The vent shaft led to the roof and was capped by a rain hood. But when officers got to the roof, they saw that the rain hood had been knocked aside. On the other north side of the building, barbed wire had been cut from the fence. Outside the fence, the grass was matted down as if people had been there. The officers could hardly believe their eyes. The rock, the impenetrable fortress of Alcatraz, had been breached. Dozens of officers fanned out all over the island. They searched the cell house, the workshops, the storerooms, and other buildings. They checked an old dungeon beneath the storehouse. They scoured the beaches, tramped through the shrubbery, and inspected the caves along the door. If you want to hear the rest, then read Escape from Alcatraz by Braun. See you next time.